My people, welcome back to another great episode of your favorite show, U&I Talk Show with Louise UWACU. This week, we are traveling. My t-shirt, all the names of all the cities, we are taking you traveling, okay? Stay tuned. All right, my people, welcome back to U&I. This week we have Ricky Shetty. Am I saying it right?
Yes, Ricky Shetty.
Nice to meet you, Ricky Shetty.
Nice to meet you as well.
Here. So you are a writer, a blogger, and a speaker. And one of the most fascinating things that you have going on is the daddy blogger thing. How did that come about?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me in your show, and I'll quickly explain the origin of Daddy Blogger. So my website is called daddyblogger.com, and my big passions are fatherhood, family, and community building. So I started daddyblogger.com about 3 years ago, and I started it because I was a dad and I was looking for resources. And as you probably know, there are a lot of resources geared for moms. And you know, us dads kind of feel left out. So we go to the library, go online, go to bookshops, and there's no or very little dad resources. So what I did is I basically, instead of just complaining about it, I decided to help solve the problem. So I launched my blog, daddyblogger.com. I also have a book all about fatherhood, and I have a community here in Vancouver, BC, Canada, where we meet up and we just empower dads to be the best husbands, the best fathers, and the best family people they can be.
Wow, this is so interesting because so when you were single and when you were growing up, is this something that you would have imagined?
No. Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, when I was single and unmarried, I would just focus on just the single life, right? And, you know, when we become parents, there's all these like fears. But a lot of us, we don't talk about those fears associated with being a mom or dad. And a lot of those fears stem from our own families, especially if we didn't have a good father, mother, or maybe there was a divorce, et cetera. And kind of my personal story is that my parents ended up having a divorce, and that left me broken. And, you know, when I was going to be a dad, I had even bigger fears.
How old were you when?
I mean, they didn't have a good marriage, like pretty much the whole way through, but they stayed together for the sake of me in terms of finishing high school and then college and university. And then they split once I was independent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
did they think that you were, you know, you're grown up? Parents think that you're grown up and then they'll split up, but they don't really think about how it's going to affect you, even though you're grown up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the split will affect kids at any and all ages, especially the young ones, right? Because they can't process it. As an adult, I can obviously process it. I have intellectual capacity to understand what happened. But a young kid, you know, if they witness a divorce or experience that, I think they blame themselves. And we see that over and over in children that they blame themselves, maybe not even consciously, but subconsciously, they blame themselves for their kids' divorce, for their parents' divorce.
Yeah.
So that definitely affects their identity. It affects their self-esteem. It affects the way they relate to the opposite sex. And you know, when they're pursuing a soulmate, right? When they're dating, and then eventually when they get married. But it's all from the foundation of their own parents.
I see.
Yeah.
So did you have any difficulties then, like falling in love and building your own house because you had this in the back of your head?
Absolutely, yeah. It's so many fears and insecurities and self-doubts. So in high school, I don't know if you know about those high school annuals. In the high schools here, they have these annuals where you get voted like most handsome or best athlete. I got voted most shy.
Most shy?
Yeah. So I wish I had my annual here to show it to the camera, but I didn't bring it with me. But in my high school annual, if you look at it, it's you know, grad 95, and they have all the categories. And then under the category of most shy, it's a picture of me hiding behind a pole, and it says most shy Ricky Shetty. And here I am, you know, on like TV, and I'm on like speaking circuit of my own book, right? So there was a lot of inner healing from the point of most shy to really confident now. But yeah, you know, that high school kid is very different than like the adult man now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of definitely some inner healing, the wounds that needed to be, you know, healed, if you want. And I was looking for acceptance from women and from other men because I didn't have that from my own parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see that all the time with both men and women, teenagers who are dating, right? Yeah, you see that.
So do you feel like such a huge responsibility then to do better than your parents?
Yeah, the
Or
burden
the
is there. Absolutely, yeah. The burden is definitely there because the easiest thing, almost the default is we do what our parents did.
Yeah.
That's the default. Because at the end of the day, we model those who are closest to us, right? So we're modeling basically the actions of our fathers, the actions of our mothers, right? Unless we're really self-aware, self-conscious, and proactively trying to be different. Otherwise, the cycle will repeat itself generation after generation after generation until someone breaks it and says, I choose to be different. I choose to, create a different legacy in future for my kids.
So you had to really be conscious.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And I think if we're not, then like I said, I think the default and the subconscious will make us repeat.
Oh my goodness, this is so interesting. And then, so does your wife know, she knows all these issues? Is she not scared?
My wife knows me than any human on the planet. Yeah, she knows me more than I know myself sometimes. Yeah, so she definitely knows much more detail than I'll tell you today, right? Because I spend every day with her, right? And I share the most vulnerable part of me. And that actually makes the relationship much stronger because we know both of our vulnerabilities and we totally, fully, completely accept each other.
That's
in
nice.
spite of our brokenness.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a short break and keep talking. U&I Talk Show with Louise UWACU. We love you, the authors, the musicians, the comedians, the entrepreneurs, and all other talented and inspiring people. Please contact info@uwacu.com to be a guest on the show. All right, my people, we're back talking to Ricky Shetty, author and blogger. So would you say that that's why you loved traveling? Because you started traveling when you were young, you went to Japan, you went to Australia. How did this come about?
Yeah, it's very connected to the story I was telling earlier because I was this insecure kid, right? And I was really looking for identity and trying to figure myself out. And part of travel is learning about yourself. So in my 20s, I just finished university and I was like, okay, what do I do with my life? What do I do with my career, right? And I didn't know. And I still don't fully know, but anyway, that's a whole different story. At that time, I really didn't know. Now I don't know on a much smaller level. But anyway, in my early 20s when I graduated, I was looking what to do. So I went to Japan and I taught English because there's good money there. It's a good opportunity to live in another country and make money. So I did that for a year. And that was kind of my first travel experience. I'd done a little bit in Europe before that. But when I lived in Japan, traveled through Asia, I really got that culture shock, right? And also that addiction to travel, the travel bug. So now I've been to over 51 countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
51.
Yes.
So how then do you become a traveling blogger and then also making money at it? Because a lot of people would like to do it, but then how do you make money at it?
Yeah, sure. So I teach a three-step system. It's called making, marketing, and monetizing your blog. And I'll quickly summarize that. Basically, making your blog is basically creating a foundation, a brand. So all around us here, even for your show, you've created your brand, right? The U&I show, right? So with the blog too, it's very similar because you're doing a traditional media TV, right? So with vloggers, we're doing the new media. So we're still a media outlet, but a different kind of media outlet. And we still need the branding, the professionalism, the unique message, figuring out who your ideal reader is. And that's part of the branding. And then in terms of marketing, things like email marketing, social media marketing, video marketing, podcasting, guest blog posting, interviews, networking, media appearances, all that helps the brand, the blog, right? And then finally, the monetizing, there's three major ways. So first is selling your own products and services through your blog. And then you do affiliate marketing, which is selling someone else's products and services. And third is advertising or sponsors. So those are the big three to make money online.
Very interesting. I saw a post of you where you were talking about how you feel like a hockey player, you got an agent.
Oh yeah, exactly.
How is that, and what's the process?
They actually found me. So it's kind of like hockey players; they have agents, right? So we are bloggers. We have influence. Nowadays they call it social media influencers, because we have a readership, we have a social media network, we have a following, and sponsors want that. So sponsors, advertisers, they're looking to connect with us. We're looking to connect with them, but there's a big gap in the middle. And that's where blogger agents come in. So the agent connects the blogger to the brand and takes a cut of whatever money comes in.
Okay, so they connect you to whichever brand may be interested in sponsoring you. So this is what they do. This is their specialty. They have other people. So do they tell you why they select you? And how do you feel when you feel selected?
I feel amazing. The reason they select me or other bloggers is because we have differentiated ourselves from there's like millions of blogs on the internet, but there's some bloggers who have, again, become more successful in terms of the brand recognition, the brand equity, the network that we've built up, and kind of our target market. So mine's the dads. There are not many other bloggers who are targeting the dads, right? So brands want that. And I don't know how to reach the brands because that's not my specialty. But the agents, they already have those brand relationships. So they're pretty much a middleman or a middle person between us and the brands.
So at which point did the book come about? Because you have a book that I have in my hands, very interesting. It's called Wisdom from Daddies. So at which point did this come? This came after the blog, right?
Yes. So I basically look at when I have my blog, I want to repurpose the content. And I'm like, we talked about money too, right? How do you make money from blogging? Well, one way is through a book. So you basically have all the content already on your blog, and you just repurpose it into a book form, and then you can sell that on Amazon, on Kindle, even physical books, right? And you've done the work once, but you make money over and over through book sales. But also, the book actually gives you credibility to get media appearances or get more sponsors, right? So there's a credibility associated with that, and it's also differential because a lot of bloggers don't have books. So as a blogger, you're always trying to differentiate yourself because there's so many bloggers.
Yes, you need to stand out.
Stand out, yes, exactly.
So this definitely makes you stand out. Now, what kind of stories are in here? And you have collected so many stories, right?
Yes. So like you're interviewing me today, what I did is I interviewed all these dads because dads have a voice, they have a story, and they're a little bit shy to share it because typically men don't like to share, right? That's kind of the stereotype. But a lot of dads have these amazing stories and amazing experiences, and also they've learned from their failures and mistakes, right? So I wanted those stories. So I basically collected interviews from dads from around the world. So African dads, Indian dads,
So you call them up, you research them. What does a dad have to do to be featured in your book?
Yeah, I mean, they just need to be a dad who's passionate about being a father. There's no real requirements. As long as they're passionate, I would love to feature them. In terms of like how do they get on, I think there's a little bit of networking, word of mouth. Sometimes they were finding me, sometimes I seek them out. I always looked for like, okay, if I already have a huge Western dad demographic, which I do, right? Because I live in Vancouver. Most of the dads I know are localized, right? So I was actually lacking dads in South America or dads in the Middle East or in Asia and I'm still looking for Antarctican dads. So if there are any Antarctican dads watching, that's the one continent I'm still missing.
Oh, wow, nice. Okay, we're going to take a short break and come back and keep talking about it. U&I Talk Show with Louise UWACU. We love you, the authors, the musicians, the comedians, the entrepreneurs, and all other talented and inspiring people. Please contact info@uwacu.com to be a guest on the show. My people, we're back. We're still talking to Ricky Shetty with his traveling. What does Shetty means? I mean, I see you from Indian origin.
Yes.
Is that Indian?
Yes. So yeah, I call myself a coconut.
Okay.
Because I'm born and raised in Vancouver, so I'm much more westernized. But my shell is Indian, right?
Yeah.
So just like a coconut, you have a brown exterior, but you have a white interior.
Yeah.
I'm very much like that. I'm liquid in the inside, just like a coconut too.
I see.
But anyway, Ricky Shetty, and it's kind of a tricky name, but it's basically like if you look at the knife machete, that's kind of how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Shettys in like Mumbai, Bombay, or like southern India, which kind of my ancestry is from. But here in Vancouver, there's almost none. So I kind of have this unique rhyming name.
Yeah, because I was like,
right?
Is he even Indian? This doesn't even sound Indian. Does he mean something? I
actually don't even know like the origin of that. I should ask kind of my ancestors. But my parents parents purposely gave me like a more like a westernized first name though, because then it's easy to fit in and connect and all that. And I like it. It's a cool rhyming name.
Yeah.
And I don't, again, differential, right? If people Google me, there's no competition.
Yeah,
Google.
definitely. Ricky Shetty, there's only one.
Yeah.
So then you don't have just one thing. You have a media group, Vancouver Media Group, which you have bloggers, and then you have foodies, and then you have dads and travelers.
Yes.
So what about all those other things?
Yes. So like as I said at the beginning, my big passion is fatherhood and family, but I have this huge other passion for community building because I was the shy kid who always was insecure around community and people, and I was really introverted. And now I've discovered kind of like how to be more sociable, and I see like there's a need for people to connect. But people, for some reason, choose not to connect. We're on the cell phones, or even on the subway or SkyTrain or the buses, or even if we're in the waiting rooms, we're on our phones, right? So there's this deep inner desire for us to connect, but we choose not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why is that? Do you think there's a reason?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I think at the first place, I think we're insecure to connect with people because we're afraid of judgment, or we're afraid we don't know what to say. We're not even sure if they want to talk to us, or they're busy on their cell phone, right? So if someone's on their cell phone and you're on your cell phone, but who's going to make that first point?
Nobody.
It's just a smile. All this is a smile or a hi.
Yeah.
And that could break that, the tech addiction we have, right? All it is a smile or the hi, or just like a question, like, how are you today, right?
But so how long does one have to do this before they actually make a living out of it? Because there's so many bloggers, and people never really think that they can make a living out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'll go back to the how to make a living, but also about what I was going to talk about, the community building, right? So what I do is I run a few communities here in Vancouver. So I'm a solo blogger, but I also have a community of bloggers called YVR Bloggers, which is I guess very eclectic in the types of bloggers. So there's like food bloggers, there's fashion bloggers, there's tech bloggers, car bloggers, like pretty much any and all bloggers will be in that network. But I also kind of segregate them into different areas. So there's the travel bloggers, which is YVR Travelers. There's the food bloggers, which is YVR Foodies, and there's the dad or parent bloggers, which is YVR Dads. So that's kind of like the hierarchy. And in terms of the money, I think it's really about how good's the brand, how good's the readership, and then the money will come. But if you don't have a strong brand, if you don't have good readers or strong readers or quantity of readers or quality of readers, then you're going to get less money.
I see.
So focus on the brand, focus on the readership, and then build up the streams of income.
I see. So how is it traveling as a dad? Because you've traveled as a single guy, probably partying. I'm not going to...
Yeah, I was a backpacker. I wasn't really into the party scene. There are a lot of backpackers who are into that scene. I was very much into the self-discovery, kind of like understanding myself part of travel, because we travel for many purposes, to transform ourselves, to transform those around us. And I think it's like every traveler travels for a different reason. For me, it's very much about the self-discovery and that inner and outer transformation. And in terms of the difference between like me as a solo traveler and me now.
Back in the days and then right now as a dad, how is that traveling?
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, back then I was a backpacker living in hostels and dormitories. Obviously now with a wife and 2 young kids, both under 5, very hard to live in a dormitory, right? Yeah. But the good thing is a lot of hostels actually have family rooms, but we don't really do hostels anymore. Sometimes we'll do Airbnbs, which is the sharing economy, like just people opening up their homes to travelers, right? But what I've done through my blog is actually got a lot of hotels that give me free stays in return for a review of their property. So I've got about like 40, 50 different hotel stays, and I work with tourism boards, so I get my hotels covered, my sightseeing covered, even my meals covered. Sometimes they'll even fly me there. So it's an amazing way to travel around the world for free, just through writing, social media and like video blogs, etc.
I need to get in on this.
Well, you're already good at the like the online marketing kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
and you have your
definitely.
YouTube channel, so yeah, definitely get into it.
I'll definitely get into it. So when you're traveling with your family, how are they enjoying it? Are the kids even realizing how great of an experience that is, or are they too young to really appreciate what's going on?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, Louise. My kids are only 3.5 and 2. So do they fully comprehend what's happening? I think so. Like you probably, if I asked you, you probably remember your first travel experience, do you?
Because I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
So I can remember.
Most people, if you really ask them, they'll have memories of traveling with their family.
Yeah.
Like the Disneylands or the Disney Worlds, or even like like going on the ferry to Vancouver Island, right?
Yes.
So they'll have these memories of camping or whatever, right? So what I'm doing is creating these memories now. They might not actually remember it or process it at this age, but it will actually help form their identities now, because they'll already get it used to, like, we're discovering cultures and we're learning about people, and not everyone's rich like we're in the West. There's people who are really struggling just to eat and have a roof over their head, and just to make enough income, right? And here we are drinking a Starbucks and Tim Hortons and all, right? So by exposing my children to this, they're actually becoming well-rounded, and they're becoming much more of a global citizens, which will actually help them in their career and in their life in the future. So I believe it's really good what I'm doing for my kids right now.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, we'll take a short break and then come back and end on that. U&I Talk Show with Louise UWACU. We love you, the authors, the musicians, the comedians, the entrepreneurs, and all other talented and inspiring people. Please contact info@uwacu.com to be a guest on the show. My people, we're back. It's short, but we're talking about travel. So I don't know how many cities you can read there. You've been to probably all of them.
Berlin, New York, Brooklyn. Yeah, I've been to most of those.
I see. So before we let you go, you have been featured as top 20 travel blogs of 2016. Mm-hmm. Who is this selecting which blogs are the best, and how did you get selected? Yeah,
so one of the things, what I teach bloggers is you got to figure out how to rank on Google, because Google's king of the internet, right? And the key is to find yourself at the top, because that's going to lead to many things. It's going to lead to more sponsors, media appearances, top 10 lists, top 20 lists, top 30 lists, right? So it really is to get on the top of Google. How do you do that?
So that's like when people Google, what is it that they have?
I'm looking to, I'm ranked already on Daddy Blogger. So if people search Daddy Blogger or resources for fathers or blogs about fatherhood, I'm ranked pretty much #1 first page position, which gets me so much traffic, organic traffic, which I don't pay for. And that's the best traffic.
Yes.
And in terms of like the travel, I'm trying to rank for family travel bloggers. So I'm still not first position, but if you search for around those terms like family travel or family travel blogging, I'm pretty high ranked, so people will find me around those search terms. Because I look at it like, if readers are looking for resources, how will they find me? Sponsors, media companies, like press, etc., right? So the higher you rank, you're going to get all those things.
Yes.
And they're all kind of interrelated. The more sponsors you get, the more readers you get, the more media you get, the more media you get, the more money will come, right? So they all intertwine together.
It's all interconnected. So did they call you and tell you, we love your blog and we would love to feature it? Or is this something that they do without even telling you and then you find out?
Good question. Yeah, sometimes, actually, both.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've just been featured, I don't even know about it, but sometimes they'll actually email me and say, hey, we just featured you, here's a link. So it's a little bit of both. And sometimes there'll be like places where you can submit to be accepted in the top 20 or whatever, and they have some criteria on like, is it unique content, and does it have a certain number of readers, and messaging, like the brand messaging. So there's a few factors by which they decide.
Very interesting. So what does your wife do? And does she have to quit whatever she was doing to do this and to travel with you?
No. I mean, we don't travel like full time. I mean, obviously we're still based here. This is our station, our home base. She works in IT, so she has a corporate job.
So she actually has a corporate job.
Yeah.
She's not chilling and...
No. I wish I was a multi-millionaire, like one of the other guests from a few weeks ago, Dan Locke. Yeah. So I wish, I was at that level, and I was just able to retire my wife, retire my mom, and pay off my entire mortgage. But hey, I'm still paying off my mortgage. I'm still figuring out income streams for myself too, because with something like a blog, or I run a lot of events locally as well. It's very variable in terms of the income streams, because there'll be some months I'm doing well, some months not as well, right? So I got to keep produce content, keep getting sponsors, and keep running events.
Yeah.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, you have to keep at it.
Totally.
I've also seen you as a speaker at an event called Bill.
Yes, Bill Conference.
What is that about?
Yeah, so everyone knows Ted, but there's a great movie. It's called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. And what happened is a lot of people couldn't afford the TED conference. So they basically...
Afford in terms of tickets to go and watch?
Yeah, because it's about $8,000 to go to the TED conference, the one that happens at the Vancouver Convention Center. So that conference is so unaffordable, only people are making the 6 and 7 figures or like, kind of independently wealthy, they can afford that. But a lot of us, we can't afford an $8,000 ticket point, right? So the people who couldn't afford TED, they created something called Bill. And Bill conferences for those who can't afford TED, but with the same kind of concept of philosophy, like multiple speakers, short segments, 15 to 20 minutes, and about those things like technology, education, design, and now it's kind of more wider than that. And it actually follows TED around, just like the movie.
No way.
Yeah, so TED used to be in California, and now it's in Vancouver, and Bill used to be in there, and now it's here.
Okay.
So it's literally Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures in the, in the kind of the conference setting.
How does TED take it? Is
good question. I don't know. I don't know the kind of like the politics of it. They probably kind of don't take Bill seriously because TED is kind of like this world-recognized platform, and Bill's kind of the little brother who's trying to like catch up, right? So yeah, I was as a speaker there, and I talked about blogging and all there as well. So yeah, that's something else I do, speaking and training as well. So I do workshops on educating bloggers and how to make money online, that kind of thing.
I see. So of all the things you do, which one is your favorite?
My favorite is hanging out with my kids.
Oh,
yeah, at the end of the day, I'm doing it for my kids, right? So, and that's why like I love Daddy Blogger so much, because not only am I doing it for my kids, but I'm also processing what it means to be a dad, and ultimately, I'm also helping other dads, other families, right?
Yeah.
So that's the most rewarding thing at the end of the day.
Very nice. So what's the biggest adjustment before we go as a dad that you have to make?
Work-life balance is tough, because I think as men, we're very much driven to do things, whereas kids just need the time, the quality time, right? So for me, it doesn't come naturally just to hang out with them and read them books and just be with them. I'm much more inclined to do stuff with them, like take them to the park, take them on an adventure, take them on a road trip, right? So that's been the biggest adjustment, going from a human doing to a human being.
Nice.
And from a dad doer to a dad beer.
Wow, I see. So we're coming pretty much to the end, but I would like to ask you before we go, what is your future? What do you see for your future? What are you wishing for? Yeah,
my hope and aim and aspiration is basically to build up strong fathers, marriages, and families. We live in an age, in an era of divorce and epidemic family breakdown, right? So that's my big calling, to help families.
That is so
And the way I do that is
Yeah.
by being the change that I want to see in the world, Gandhi,
Yes,
right?
that is
so
so
all I can be is be the best dad, the best husband, and the best family person, and that will be a ripple effect and inspire other families to be as good as, not me, because I'm broken, I'm making mistakes, I'm not the best husband, right? But at least I have that passion for it, and I think other people can see that passion, and I guess that authenticity too. I'm really sincere about it. It's not like just make believe or whatever, right? And you have to ask my wife if it's true. Because at the end of the day, like I could say whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if my kids say it and my wife says it, then I've achieved success.
Thank you so much, Ricky.
Thank you so much.
It's been great having you on.
Thank
My
you.
people, go check him out and keep traveling, keep learning. Thank you for being you and I.